You rested, you slept, you slowed down. So why do you still feel tired? Why can you take a weekend off, sleep 8 hours, cancel plans, maybe even go on vacation, and still come back feeling mentally foggy, emotionally flat, strangely disconnected from yourself, or already overwhelmed again after only a few days? For many women with ADHD after 40, this becomes one of the most confusing experiences of midlife because you are doing exactly what everyone tells you should work. Rest more, sleep more, slow down, take time off. And yet, something still feels wrong. You rest, but you do not recover. Eventually, many women begin asking themselves difficult questions. Why am I still exhausted? Why does vacation not help anymore? Why do I need so much recovery compared to other people? Am I simply getting older? Am I becoming less resilient? But what if the problem is not that you are bad at resting? What if the problem is that rest and recovery are not the same thing? Because after 40, especially for women with ADHD, recovery becomes more complex. You are no longer recovering only from work. You may be recovering from stimulation, emotional labor, years of functioning, social masking, invisible planning, hormonal changes, constant mental tabs, and a nervous system that has stayed open for far too long. And that means that lying on the couch may be rest, but it may not actually be recovery. One of the biggest misunderstandings around exhaustion is the belief that stopping automatically restores us. It does not. Rest simply means reducing activity. Recovery means rebuilding capacity. Those are not the same thing. You can stop moving while your brain continues running at full speed. You can sit quietly while mentally planning tomorrow, replaying conversations, organizing meals, tracking unfinished tasks, carrying responsibility for other people, remembering what still needs to be done, and monitoring everything in the background. Many ADHD women know this experience very well. The body sits down, but the brain keeps moving. You are physically still while mentally active. The visible work stopped, but the invisible work never did. And over years, this creates a strange state where you become simultaneously exhausted and activated. You are tired, but cannot fully relax. You are depleted, but still scanning. You want rest, but do not know how to switch off. Then naturally, you try to solve the problem with more passive rest, more weekends, more couch time, more sleeping in, more scrolling, more time away. But sometimes the depletion is not physical anymore. Sometimes it is cognitive, sometimes sensory, sometimes emotional, sometimes social. And physical rest cannot always solve nervous system exhaustion. This becomes especially visible when weekends stop working. Many women reach a point where they notice that the weekend no longer restores them the way it once did. Sunday evening arrives, and instead of feeling renewed, they feel slightly anxious, heavy, behind, or already tired for Monday. The reason is often not laziness. It is that weekends quietly became recovery attempts instead of rest spaces. Think about what many women actually do during free days: cleaning, grocery shopping, catching up, planning, organizing, managing family life, researching, preparing the next week, finally doing all the invisible tasks that had no place during the work week. Even rest becomes productive. Even recovery becomes another project. And because ADHD women often carry enormous invisible mental load, the weekend becomes less about restoration and more about maintenance. The same thing happens with vacations. This may sound strange because we think of travel as recovery, but modern travel is often stimulation, wearing a beautiful outfit, airports, logistics, timetables, crowds, decisions, restaurants, movement, packing, visual input, noise, new environments, social expectations. Even lovely travel experiences can require enormous nervous system energy. Some women come home from vacation and quietly think, "Why am I more tired now?" And then guilt appears because you were supposed to feel grateful, happy, restored. But perhaps your nervous system experienced something different. Perhaps it experienced constant input. This is also why some places instantly calm you, while others drain you without obvious reason. We already explored this through the travel videos. Some cities feel softer the moment you arrive. Slower pace, more space, less visual chaos, less noise, older architecture, water, nature, a calmer rhythm. Your body relaxes before your mind understands why. Other places feel stimulating even when they are beautiful. Busy streets, visual density, crowds, constant movement, endless choices. The ADHD brain processes much more than we consciously realize. Recovery is not only about stopping work, it is also about reducing input. And after 40, many women notice that their tolerance for constant input changes. This is often the sentence that appears during midlife. I used to handle more. I used to bounce back faster. I used to travel all day and still go out at night. I used to recover in one weekend. I used to push through. Then suddenly recovery changes. Noise feels louder. Sleep feels less effective. Social events cost more energy. Busy environments linger longer in the body. You need more quiet after stimulation. Many women interpret this as weakness, but maybe it is information. Maybe your body is communicating different needs. Part of this is simply accumulation. By midlife, many women have spent years carrying responsibility, expectations, work, family systems, emotional labor, adaptation, achievement, and constant functioning. But part of it is also biological. Hormonal shifts influence sleep quality, stress resilience, emotional regulation, energy production, inflammation, nervous system sensitivity, and recovery speed. For ADHD, women, this can feel particularly noticeable because estrogen and dopamine influence each other. As hormones shift, attention, emotional regulation, stress tolerance, and energy can shift as well. Many women suddenly experience more overwhelm, more sensitivity, longer recovery times, more cognitive fatigue, more sleep disruption, and lower tolerance for stimulation. Society often labels this as aging, but perhaps it is a nervous system asking for a new strategy. And maybe this is where recovery after 40 becomes less about doing less and more about recovering differently, because many women are missing entire categories of recovery without realizing it. The first one is visual recovery. Modern life is visually loud. Screens, notifications, traffic, advertising, open tabs, bright lighting, clutter, endless movement, crowded environments. The ADHD brain continues processing all of this even when you are not actively paying attention. Imagine how often your eyes move in a normal day. Phone, computer, messages, shopping, tasks, information, it never stops. Then suddenly you sit beside a lake, walk through an old town early in the morning, sit in a quiet cafe with soft light, or watch trees moving in the wind, and something changes inside you. You feel calmer before you understand why. Your brain simply has fewer things to process. Visual recovery means intentionally reducing what your nervous system must track. Softer evening light, less visible clutter, time without screens, looking into distance instead of information, walking somewhere open and spacious, choosing calmer environments, spending time near water, creating visual emptiness. Many women keep adding stimulation while hoping for recovery, but sometimes recovery comes through subtraction. The second missing category is mental recovery. ADHD brains often stay open loops, open tasks, open decisions, open tabs, open planning. Even during rest, the mind continues carrying unfinished things. Many women wake up already thinking. They mentally start the day before leaving bed. The problem is not intelligence, the problem is load. Mental recovery means reducing what your brain must hold. Decision-free evenings help. Repeating meals helps. Simpler systems help. Writing things down helps. Reducing options helps. Many women believe they need more discipline when in reality, they need fewer decisions. Think about how much invisible thinking happens every day. What to cook, what to wear, what to answer, what to remember, what still needs doing. ADHD. Women often live with constant cognitive background activity. Then they wonder why rest does not work. The brain never fully stopped. Mental recovery sometimes means creating islands where nothing needs to be solved. The third category is social recovery, and this one may be the most invisible because many women are very good socially. They seem capable, present, warm, organized, but underneath there may be constant adjustment. Monitoring emotions, listening deeply, tracking reactions, managing impressions, being available, holding space, masking, performing competence. Even beautiful relationships require energy. Even people we love require capacity. Social recovery means moments where nothing is expected from you. No performance, no emotional labor, no pleasing, no management. For some women, social recovery looks like reading alone in silence. For others, it is gardening, slow travel, walking, sitting near water, driving quietly, painting, being with animals, spending time with one safe person instead of 10 stimulating people. Recovery does not always mean isolation. Sometimes it means being where your nervous system can finally exhale. Something interesting happens when women begin understanding these layers. They stop asking, "Why am I still tired?" and start asking, "What kind of recovery am I missing?" Because maybe you slept enough but had no visual recovery. Maybe you rested physically but had no mental recovery. Maybe you took vacation but had no social recovery. Suddenly, exhaustion becomes less mysterious. And perhaps this is one of the biggest shifts after 40. Recovery stops being something we do occasionally and becomes something we design into life. It becomes structural, rhythmic, protective. 10 calm minutes every morning, 1 quiet walk, less stimulation before bed, slower travel styles, more spacious weekends, recovery before exhaustion arrives instead of after collapse. Because the goal may no longer be becoming the woman who tolerates endless stimulation again. Maybe the goal is becoming the woman who understands what restores her, the woman who stops apologizing for needing quiet, the woman who stops measuring health only through productivity, the woman who understands that a complex brain may need a more intelligent recovery strategy. If rest has stopped working for you, if weekends no longer restore you, if vacations leave you strangely tired instead of renewed, you are probably not lazy and you are probably not doing life wrong. You may simply need a different recovery language, one that includes your nervous system, your biology, your environment, and the reality of living after 40 with a complex mind, because sometimes the answer is not more rest. Sometimes the answer is the right kind of recovery. And I would love to know below which type of recovery you feel you are missing most right now: visual recovery, mental recovery, or social recovery. And if this space feels supportive to you, you are very welcome to stay. Complex brain living is for women who want calmer nervous systems, thoughtful living, restorative travel, and a life designed for complex minds after 40.